As we know them best, John, Paul, George, and Ringo were only together as a band for less than 8 years. Their reign as the biggest band in the world started with a trip to New York 50 years ago this weekend and their appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Another Ed Ranieri, carries that weight of keeping the Beatles' musical legacy alive here in our area. Newswatch 16 sat in on his Beatle Ed Fab 4 hour at Radio Kings College, WRKC-FM in Luzerne County.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beatle people, 50 years ago today, on Friday, February 7th, 1964, the Beatles landed on U.S. soil for the very first time. And what a fab weekend it's going to be here in the States. I have had this date circled on the calendar for a long time because I knew Feb 7, 64 was when it all began.
It was after the JFK assassination. The country was in a slump. I Want to Hold Your Hand was #1 in January, and it was just great timing. You know, America needed this. The music world needed it too.
Tonight we have a very special guest named Shawn Weiss. He is the son of the late Nat Weiss, who was an associate of Brian Epstein, the Beatles manager. You were there. Let's go back to the Sullivan Show for a minute. How much electricity in the audience that night, and what do you remember specifically about watching that performance once it started?
Things happened that the audience didn't see, like Ed Sullivan coming out and saying, okay, we're going to bring the Beatles out and don't come screaming and running up to the stands.
We all watched it on television. Shawn was in the theater, and that makes him a pretty special guest tonight. Now, in the days of internet, we reach fans all over the world. We've got a huge following in Scotland. We've got a following in Liverpool, England, and that is very exciting. And it all comes out of tiny little WRKC here in Wilkes-Barre.
Amazing.
Keith Hickox with that report.
Well,